All right, today we're pulling back the curtain. We're going backstage behind your screen to find out what the internet actually is. Not the idea of it, but the physical, humming, blinking hardware that makes our entire digital world go round. Let's dive in.
We throw around the term the cloud all the time, right? It's where our photos live, where our emails are stored, pretty much our entire digital lives. But have you ever really stopped and tried to picture it? What does it look like? Because I can promise you, it's not a bunch of fluffy white clouds in the sky. Well, here it is. It looks a lot more like this. This beautifully organized tower of metal, wires, and blinking lights is called a server rack. And this is one of the real physical building blocks of the internet. So yeah, forget the sky, this is where the cloud actually lives.
So, I'm going to take you on a quick little architectural tour. First, we'll figure out what a server rack even is. Then, we'll meet the three key players inside. We've got the brains, which are the servers, the library, which is all the storage, and the nervous system, the networking gear that lets them all talk. And finally, we'll see how the whole thing works together to do something simple, like bring up a web page on your screen.
First things first, what exactly are we looking at here? Well, the easiest way to think about it is like a skyscraper, but one built specifically to house data.
At its most basic, a server rack is just a specialized frame, designed to hold all this high-tech equipment. But it's so much more than a fancy bookshelf. It's this carefully engineered environment. It's designed to keep everything physically secure, to make sure air is constantly flowing to keep it all cool, and to make sure every single piece is accessible for engineers to work on. Believe me, when you have a data center with thousands of these, that organization is everything.
All right, so let's meet the most important resident living in our skyscraper, the brains of the entire operation, the servers themselves.
Now take a look at these. Each one of these thin little boxes that slides in and out, they're called blade servers. Each one is its own powerful, independent computer. I mean it. It has its own processor, its own memory, basically everything your desktop or laptop has, just without a screen or a keyboard. And it's been super optimized to just do one job really, really well.
So what do these computers do all day? Well, they are the absolute workhorses of the internet. They're running the websites you visit, the apps on your phone. Every single time you type something into Google or like a photo or send an email, a server just like this one is processing that request. They are the engines, constantly thinking and calculating to make our digital world work. Okay, so if the servers are the brains doing all the thinking, where do they get their information? That brings us to our next stop on the tour, the library. Check this out. This whole unit is what's called a storage array. And you see all those individual slots with the little green lights? Each one of those is a high-capacity hard drive. And when you put them all together, you get this massive digital library that can hold just an incredible amount of data.
So yeah, a storage array's only job is to store and manage information. It is that giant, super fast digital library where every photo you've ever taken, every video you've saved, every document you've ever written, this is where it physically exists. This is your stuff in the cloud.
Awesome. So we've got the brains and we've got the library. But how do they talk to each other? And more importantly, how do they talk to the rest of the world? For that, you need a nervous system, and that's the networking gear. And whoa, look at this thing. See these boxes, just covered in a dizzying number of ports and blinking lights? These are network switches. And honestly, the best way to think of them is like traffic cops, or maybe air traffic controllers for data. They direct everything exactly where it needs to go. So its entire purpose in life is to connect everything together. It links the servers to the storage arrays, and it connects the whole rack to the wider internet. Every single piece of data, every packet that flows in or out of this rack has to go through one of these switches, which makes sure it gets to the right destination at unbelievable speed. So, we've met all the key players. Now, let's put it all together and see how this high-tech ecosystem actually works as a team. And you know, connecting it all is a very real physical job. On the left, you can see what happens when it goes wrong. Just absolute chaos. A literal spaghetti monster of cables. But on the right, that's the ideal. And this isn't just about being neat. Clean cable management is absolutely crucial for airflow, because these components get incredibly hot. Plus, it means an engineer can actually find a cable and fix something quickly when things go wrong. It's a total necessity. So let's make it real. How does this rack load a web page for you? It's like a lightning-fast dance. Okay, 1. Your click sends a request out into the world. 2. The network switch in the rack snags that request and routes it to the right server. 3. The server, our brain, gets to work and figures out what you want. 4. It zips over to the storage array, the library, and pulls all the necessary data,
like images and text. And 5, the server bundles all that up, and the switch sends it flying back across the internet straight to your screen. And all of that? It happens in a fraction of a second. It's amazing.
Now you know, most of this stuff can be managed remotely, from thousands of miles away. But what happens when a server completely crashes and just drops off the network? Well, that's when you still need the human touch. This thing is called a crash cart, and it's basically just a keyboard and a monitor on wheels that lets an engineer physically plug directly into a dead machine to figure out what's wrong. It's a great reminder that at the heart of all this incredible automation, there are still people on the ground making sure it all runs. So there you have it, a full tour of a single server rack. It is an entire ecosystem holding an immense amount of power. But here's the thought I want to leave you with. Our digital world is growing exponentially. I mean, to power the future of AI, of virtual reality, of technologies we haven't even dreamed up yet, we're going to need millions upon millions more of these racks. And that leads to a huge question. How are we going to power all of that sustainably? That's the real challenge ahead. Something to think about.